Today, the 20th day of November 2019, is the birthday of one of our colleagues, Senator Mohamed Ali Ndume. I therefore, on behalf of all our colleagues in the Senate, wish him a very happy birthday, long life, prosperity, and many more years of service to our fatherland. Congratulations. Announcement. Courtesy call on the President of the Senate. This is to inform all concerned senators that the Arewa Consultative Forum will pay a courtesy call on the President of the Senate today, 20th November 2019 at 2:30 p.m. in the Senate President's Meeting Room 301. All concerned senators are warmly invited, please. The concerned senators are the Northern Senators Forum members, signed, and their friends and well-wishers, and you should be there. Signed, Senator Aliu Magataka Daumako, Chairman, Northern Senators Forum. I wish to acknowledge the presence of members of Students' Union, Lagos State University, Ojo, Lagos State, who are in the gallery to observe Senate proceedings today. You are welcome. I wish you a very successful observation of Senate proceedings today. You may sit down, please. Petitions. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. My highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Gershom Bass on the Federal Polytechnic at Fabio, Cross River State. Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, we may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Polytechnic, Apabo Uyo, Cross River State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 177, first reading.
Federal Polytechnic, Apabo Uyo, Cross River State Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 177, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Patrick Abamoro on the Electoral Act No. 6, 2010, Amendment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Electoral Act No. 6, 2010, Amendment Bill to 2019, SB 179, first reading.
Electoral Act No. 6, 2010, Amendment Bill 2019, SB 179, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Kashim Shettima on the Trademark Act, Cap T13, Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Trademark Act, Cap T13, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 180, first reading.
Trademark Act, Cap T13, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 180, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Dauda Jika on the Police Act P19, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Police Act P19, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 181, first reading.
Police Act P19 LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 181, first reading taken.
Mr. President,
the mic has gone off.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Dauda Jika on the Police Academy Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Police Academy Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 182, first reading.
Police Academy Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 182, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibikule Amosu on the Investment and Security Act, Cap 124, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Amendment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Investment and Security Act, Cap 124, LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2019, SB 183, first reading.
Investment and Security Act, Cap 124, LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2019, SB 183, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Uche Lilian Ekunife on the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Alteration Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alteration Bill 2019, SB 184, first reading.
1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alteration Bill 2019, SB 184, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the eighth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Uba on the Institute of Aviation Safety and Management Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Institute of Aviation Safety and Management, Mbosi, Anambra State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 186, first reading.
Institute of Aviation Safety and Management, Mbosi, Anambra State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 186, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the ninth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari on the Constituency Development Catalyst Fund, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Constituency Development Catalyst Fund, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 187, first reading.
Constituency Development Catalyst Fund, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 187, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, The 10th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Abdullahi Adamu on the National Food Reserve Agency Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Food Reserve Agency Establishment 2019, SB 189.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 11th business of the day is the presentation of the report of the 3rd ordinary session, the 5th Parliament, or the Pan-African Parliament. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Balana Allah. In his absence, Mr. President, I want to move a motion for the Senate to send down the consideration and presentation of this report to another legislative day. I so.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I so second the motion ably moved by the leader. Thank you.
Those in favor that we stand down the consideration of this, the receipt of this report till another legislative day, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I would first, before getting into the first order of the day, I would want to move a motion for under Order 1B for the distinguished Senate to consider reordering the order of presentation of the schedule of the second reading that we have under our order paper. For this, I would request my colleagues to approve that we schedule this first order of the day with the second reading of the Electoral Act to come at the last under that particular presentation, so that I will now move the motion for the Senate to consider and approve the reordering of the presentation under the second reading proposal. Thank you, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I so second the motion ably moved by the leader for the consideration of this Senate.
Those in favor of the motion by the leader, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, thank you and the Senate for the approval for the reordering. I would want to that the first order of the day is the second reading of the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 15th October 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahaya Oloregbe to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Senator Ibrahim Yahaya Oloregbe.
Thank you, Mr. President. My highly respected and distinguished colleagues, my name is Ibrahim Yahaya Oloregbe. I represent Kwara Central Constituency. I rise to move that a bill for an act to provide for the establishment and regulation of mental health and substance abuse services, protect persons with mental health needs, and establishment of National Commission for Mental and Substance Abuse Services for the effective management of mental health in Nigeria and for other related matters, 2019.
Please go ahead and read your lead debate.
My distinguished colleagues, this bill, the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Bill, was first read in this annual chamber on the 15th day of October 2019. Mental well-being is a state of good health in which every individual realizes his or her own potential. The individual can cope with normal stress of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make contribution to his or her community. This positive dimension of mental health is stressed in the World Health Organization's definition of health, which states that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. This fact highlights the important aspect of mental health and disorders. That is, mental well-being is not a mere absence of mental illness. It has been estimated that 25 to 40% of the world population have one form of mental illness or the other at some point in their lifetime. The situation is appalling in low-income countries like Nigeria. Nigeria, with an estimated population of about 200 million, is not immune to these challenges. With the current adversities of poverty, violence, and social difficulties, the prevalence of mental disorders in Nigeria is likely higher than the already stated statistics. This bill therefore aims to provide for the enhancement and regulation of mental health and substance abuse services, protect persons with mental health needs, establish a national agency for mental and substance abuse services for effective management of mental health in Nigeria and other related matters. The problem why this bill is necessary. According to the World Health Organization, about 15 million people, that is 1 in every 4 persons, are suffering from some sort of mental health illness in Nigeria. As the 7th largest country in the world, Nigeria has Africa's highest rate of depression and ranks 5th in the world in the frequency of suicide. There are less than 150 psychiatrists in this country with a population of 200 million. And the World Health Organization estimates that fewer than 10% of mentally ill Nigeria have access to care they need. There's no mental health law in place in Nigeria other than the Regional Lunacy Law of 1958, which in content and context violate fundamental human rights of persons with mental health and psychosocial disability. It is a law which lacks a focus on human rights and non-discrimination. It lacks access to services and least restrictive treatment alternatives. Its definitions are largely inadequate in terms of humanness and scope, as it continues to employ denigrating terms such as lunatics, idiot, and unsound mind, while focusing almost entirely on custodial care, and the wordings are derogatory and highly stigmatizing. There is evidently lack of public mental health promotion and mental illness prevention program in Nigeria due to non-implementation of the National Mental Health Service Delivery Policy 2013. The current approach is only treatment directed. In addition to this, Mr. President, is the failure of government to regulate treatment practices, religious belief, and misconception about mental health and psychosocial disability. This has led to increasing proliferation of unorthodox treatment and detention centers, such as traditional healing homes and religious or spiritual centers that take advantage of the vulnerable in our society. There have been reported cases of deprivation of food and water, physical, sexual, and emotional assault on persons with mental health and psychosocial disabilities. There is unprecedented level of myth and misconceptions which are further entrenched by ignorance, poverty, wrong belief about mental health and psychosocial disability. This belief, myth, and cultural practices contribute to human rights violation of persons with mental health and psychosocial disability. Parents and relatives give away their word easily to some of these detention centers with the hope of getting help succor and solution to mental health issues. The lack of strategies for mental well-being promotion and mental health and psychosocial disability prevention activity has led to an overarching increase in the prevalence of mental health and psychosocial disabilities, increase in suicide, especially among youth, and substance abuse disorder in Nigeria. There's a lack of equitable distribution of few modern structures of service delivery for persons with mental health and psychosocial disability in Nigeria. It is non-existent in many rural areas where vast majority of Nigerians who need it reside. In general terms, Mr. President, several countries in Africa are better resourced in regard to mental health personnel. Countries such as South Africa, Egypt, and Kenya have more psychiatrists per 1,000 persons and also higher proportion of psychiatric beds. Many countries in Africa also give better official attention to mental health issues. So it is against this background, Mr. President, that the objective of these bills are to provide, the primary reason behind this bill is to provide a unified response to the challenges relating to delivery of mental health and substance abuse service in Nigeria. The bill aims to, among other things, provide enhancement of mental well-being of the citizens through programs that promote mental health, prevent mental health and psychosocial disabilities, provide effective, compassionate, humane, and universally accessible treatment for mental health and psychosocial disabilities and regulation of mental health substance abuse services, protect persons with mental health and psychosocial disability needs from human rights abuse, stigmatization, discrimination, protect their properties, and support their families. The current lunatic law states that when somebody has mental illness, the property should be sold by the family. That's what the lunatic connect 58 stated, Mr. President. The establishment of national agencies for mental health and substance abuse services for effective management of mental health and psychosocial disabilities and other related matters in Nigeria. To ensure that the government and all stakeholders implement the content of the national policy for mental health care delivery services, including integration of mental health and psychosocial services at all levels of healthcare delivery services, and to criminalize abuse of persons with mental health and psychosocial disability in Nigeria, and decriminalize substance abuse disorder and increase funding for mental health and psychosocial programs. Mr. President, Nigeria is long overdue for humane and compassionate mental health law. Persons living with mental health and psychosocial disability should be considered as disadvantaged and vulnerable. Government should make special provisions for them in all spheres of their lives. Specifically, mental health and psychosocial services should be accessible. As mental health is inseparable from physical health, adequate provision should be made for the training of all healthcare personnel on basic mental health and psychosocial skills for effective task sharing and task shifting. Generally and specifically, mental health professionals should be routinely trained and retrained on strategies for effective mental health promotion, mental illness prevention, early recognition of mental health and psychosocial problems for comprehensive care and mitigation of disability. Today in Nigeria, the use of illicit and hard drugs had assumed an alarming dimension and is threatening the future of this country. As our young people, who are the hope of the future, are being derailed by illicit and hard drugs. Cultism in our secondary and tertiary institutions today is being fueled by substance abuse. Our armed forces have made us to know that large quantities of hard and illicit drugs were found in possession of many insurgents captured. Consequently, this bill has a positive national security implication, as it will go a long way in taming a key factor fueling criminality and insurgency in Nigeria. It is unacceptable in this era for us to still have millions of mental health patients roaming our streets and public places just because there's no system in place to adequately cater for their health and psychosocial needs. Furthermore, Mr. President, addressing mental health challenges in the life of the estimated 50 million Nigeria will go a long way in adding to the pool of economically viable and productive citizens that have the potential to impact the economy of Nigeria. Moreover, this bill will go a long way to serve as a testament of our country's commitment to respecting the several international treaties and conventions on human rights and dignity that we are being submitted to. In conclusion, Mr. President, there's a constitutional backing for the bill as well, Mr. President. The subject matter of the bill is supported by Section 32 and 42 of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended. Section 34 provides that no person shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment, while Section 42 states that no citizen of Nigeria shall be subjected to any disability or deprivation merely by reason of the circumstances of his or her birth. From the above provision, it is safe to state that the constitutional right of people suffering from mental health disorder and substance abuse is not protected, and there is no legal framework to implement the right guaranteed to them by the Constitution. Thus, the bill seeks to protect persons with mental and substance abuse disorder from discrimination, victimization, and unfair treatment by employers, by academic institutions, and other agencies. In conclusion, Mr. President, in the view of the foregoing, my highly respected colleagues and esteemed colleagues, I wish to urge you to accord this bill the serious and urgent attention it deserves and ultimately pass it into an act. The passage will ensure that the government and all stakeholders implement the content of national policy for mental health care delivery service, especially the integration of mental health and psychosocial services at all levels of healthcare delivery service in Nigeria. This will criminalize abuse of persons with mental health and psychosocial disabilities, decriminalize substance abuse, and increase funding for mental health and psychosocial programs. Thank you for your attention, Mr. President. I so submit.
Does anyone want to make a contribution? Senator Matthew Orogide.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this privilege. Senator Matthew Orogide. I represent Edo South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to support this bill, ably sponsored by Senator Olori Egbe, who is chairman of my committee, the Health Committee in the Senate. Mr. Chairman, you recall that some time ago when we were talking about this, very ugly, incidents of suicide. Where all the contributions that were made here on this floor were tied majorly to, depressions, of course, mental ill health, and then of course the use of, substances that are being abused, majorly by, the segment of young people in our society. Today, Senator Olori Egbe has come up with this bill, and I think he's tying it up to some of the resolutions, that were made, that were adopted from the motion that was moved at that time. In supporting all of this, today we are seeing the statistics, and the one, of course, that is quite worrisome is the fact that if we have a population that is estimated at 200 million people in Nigeria, 51 out of every 4, according to WHO statistics, has one form of mental, problem or the other in this country. Therefore, about 50 million people are estimated to have one form of mental problem or the other. Therefore, as a parliament, what must we concern ourselves with? The wellness of our people is very important, particularly their mental state. Therefore, anything we have to do as a nation that, of course, we improve on the health of our people, particularly the mental health of our people, we should encourage it. All the suggestions that he has made here, I wholeheartedly support them. And I want to say that it is now common knowledge that the health institutions and facilities that we have in Nigeria that takes care of people that have this problem, they are quite few. And of course, you just can count them by the fingers. I know that in my state, for instance, Edo State, the psychiatric hospital in Uselu is the only one that you have. And of course, the oldest in the country is the Aro that you have in Ogun State, and then the Yaba Psychiatric Center. You can imagine these very few centers, not up to 10 in Nigeria, catering for over 50 million, mental, cases that we have. Therefore, the government, as a matter of urgency, must add, value to the establishment of more facilities, to take care of our people. Then number two, we have just seen that in a population of over 200 million people, we have only about 150 psychiatrists in Nigeria. And of course, if you have to take that, it only means that we have almost one psychiatrist to 1 million Nigerians. Therefore, government must make, conscious efforts in ensuring that.
Senator I thought you raised point of order 56-9. Is it 6-9 or 56-9? 56-9 or 56-10? I thought you raised point of order. Okay, the distinguished colleague, the chamber is a little bit noisy. Your order is sustained.
So, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I think what is happening in chambers, maybe our colleagues are, giving, their voices of support to this motion. Now, Mr. President, I was just saying that in a country of about 200 million people, we have only 150 psychiatrists. It only shows to you that, we have less, far less, the number of personnel that we believe to must participate in healthcare delivery in this area. Therefore, government too must give a lot of attention to it, training the right personnel, psychiatrists particularly, that can take care of these problems. Other things, Mr. President, that have been advanced here, particularly the use of illicit substances. We mentioned it here. Every day on television, we are still seeing the huge catch by customs and other security agencies, of substances that are capable of causing, this mental depression. And then, of course, any drug too that can cause addiction usually is restricted. We are still seeing the large catch of tramadol and such like, which are capable really of creating these problems. Therefore, I think stricter regulations must be put in place by government to ensure, the production, importation, or smuggling of these substances to this country. One issue.
You can round up now.
That was mentioned here is the issue of courtesan. Courtesan, is one very notorious existence in our society. And if one says it, courtesan is being propelled in this country because of the use of illegal substances, not now creating from form of psychosis, but the one again that is destabilizing, the mental faculties of our teeming youth. So the restriction of the importation and disposal of these drugs too must be taken very seriously. Thank you very much for the privilege.
Thank you very much, Senate Leader. Senator Abdullah.
Mr. President, I rise to support this bill. I think this bill is very, very important, Mr. President, because, of recent, we have seen what has been happening in the northern parts of the country, where mental patients and patients with problems of drug abuse have been housed in very unsanitary and unhealthy environments, which must create themselves as schools for teaching. And what had happened is that a lot of those patients were taken to these non-professional care facilities by their own parents and their relations because of mental illnesses. And this speaks very, very loudly on the death of mental health facilities in our countries. We have seen, Mr. President, the kind of damage that lack of mental health care facilities can do to a society, particularly when we look at the recurring cases of gun violence, particularly in the Western countries, particularly the United States of America. A lot of the cases of mass killings, unwarranted, wanton mass killings, were done by mentally deranged masses. In Nigeria, with the increasing availability of unlicensed and unwanted guns, we run a specter of this very dangerous happening in our own society if we do not take care of mental health patients in our own environment. This bill, Mr. President, is a very important bill that I think this Senate needs to consider very carefully and make sure that we really need to provide facilities for the taking care of our mental patients. Otherwise, going forward, we are going to face a calamity that will be uncalled for if we had taken care of providing these services. Mr. President, with these short remarks, I wish to thank very clearly the distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Olorebe for bringing this bill to this distinguished chamber, so that we will do the needful. With these remarks, Mr. President, I would like to strongly urge my colleagues to support this bill into the second reading. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Valero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Muhammad Adamu Alero, representing Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I rise to give my support to this very important bill for the simple reason that even the existing facilities we have, like neurological centers, rehabilitation centers, are terribly congested. And as the leader said, people are living in a very unhygienic condition. So we need to add more rehabilitation centers so that people that are mentally deranged can be rehabilitated there. People that are suffering from mental illnesses can be housed there and they can be taken care of. Mr. President, the incidence of drug abuse is very, very alarming all over the country. No state, no geopolitical zone is excluded. And for this reason, there is need for a commission to take care of people that are suffering from mental illnesses. Mr. President, with this short remark, I will urge all my colleagues to support this important bill. Thank you very much.
Senator Chimaroke Nnamani.